Another Monday.
I'm gonna call in today because I just
There's a call for you on line 1.
I quit.
Let me talk to your manager.
Can I see you in my office?
Are you on your lunch
Hey,
break?
will you trade shifts with me?
Oh, I didn't notice you were on the phone.
I'm sorry. Am I interrupting you?
You can stay late, right?
Ugh. Is it Friday yet? Welcome.
Welcome to episode 5.
Oh my god.
High 5, episode 5.
That's crazy.
It's so crazy.
5 episodes.
The next one, we're going to be like over one hand.
I had no idea what you're talking about. Got you.
Well, because you
5,
count
6.
to 5 and then you're on the other hand or foot, if that's how you prefer it.
There you go.
So this is What the Monday podcast, where we talk about funny work stories.
Yes.
Or weird work stories.
Yeah, or just crazy or just anything work related.
Yep.
And anything encouraging.
Not anything.
Anything work related.
There you go.
And encouraging.
My encouragement is not boundless.
Okay, well, yes, true.
We will be encouraging
True.
in this specific area only.
Right.
You want to quit smoking? That's on you, bro.
If you want something encouraging about work, come to the podcast.
That's on us.
So, what are we talking about today?
Oh, so today we're talking about drunk girls and candy.
Lordy.
Good combo, right?
So fun.
That's Lydia.
And that's Addison.
Hey.
And we're your hosts.
Yay.
Why do I say that every week?
Every time.
Like, people don't know. Like, we're going to stop recording.
We're the
And-
introductory people, and then your host will be coming up shortly.
Exactly.
Like, I watched the Emmys. What was it, last weekend? Yeah, I watched the Emmys last weekend.
Wow.
And they didn't have a host, so maybe that's not like this at all. But they just
didn't-
had
wait,
people.
what?
They had people to introduce the introducers. Yeah, so they didn't have a host. So they would say like, "This is Ben Affleck, and he's cool." And Ben comes out and he's like, "Hey guys, I'm Ben." And then he like tells a funny story, and then he makes a joke about a guy sitting in the front row, and he's like, "Huh." And then he's like, "Now here's to our presenters for the next category." And then the presenters walk out. Maybe people think it's like that.
That is so sad. I'm sorry, but I don't think I could watch an Emmys where there's not a host.
It was actually really good. They did the Oscars
it?
without a host too this year.
What the heck?
Where have you been?
It's because I don't watch those. It's because nobody wants to host it.
Right. But it went really well.
That's good.
Without a host.
I'm glad. Like, I don't watch it, but I'm glad it went well for them. I just want to be encouraging to these celebrities that I don't know.
You're so supportive.
I'm trying to be, okay? I know you guys are losing viewers, but if it works, it works.
And you're not going to watch, but you're going to say
Correct.
that's cool on the podcast.
Yes, I know.
Just
You're
in
welcome.
case J-Lo is sitting around listening to a podcast.
You never know, though.
Hey, J-Lo.
Right. Sponsor us with something. I don't know what you do.
In my upcoming Hustlers movie. Have you guys listened
You
to this
never
cool
know.
podcast?
Well, it could happen. We can dream, okay?
We could be in a song.
We can have dreams of J-Lo mentioning me in a movie on our podcast. Oh, I need a life. Okay?
No, we need to get out of our heads. Like, it is getting crazy in
And
there.
maybe out of my house. Oy vey. Reality check of lameness.
We're sitting here. The two of us are like some of our only friends. We're in our PJs. We're recording a podcast about work because we don't do anything else that's interesting. And we think J-Lo's going to talk about us in a movie.
I mean, that's 100% accurate right there. No, so literally at work the other day, someone was doing something like stirring or smacking or something like that. And I got so upset and perturbed. And the guy that I sit next to, I was like grumbling about it. I was like, oh my God, those kids making that noise. I'm like, I sound like an 80-year-old. Like, when did I get so old that,
Oh, get
that
off
I'm
the
like
lawn.
complaining about noise? Yeah, that's literally what I felt like.
No, but I'm the same way. Like at work when people microwave things. And I'm like, why are you so
Microwave?
intrusive with your smells? Like, now I'm hungry. I smelled chicken. Or like, don't microwave your fish at work, people.
Oh, yeah, that's
like, why are
gross.
you bringing that upon
Don't.
all of us?
I do that too, though. Like, I made French toast sticks this morning. It smelled wonderful, and I felt bad for everybody else. Correct.
No, at least it smelled good.
Yes, it's not a bad smell, but yes, it is one of those that everybody wants to eat whatever I have.
Did you share?
I did share with one person.
Well, there you go. See, you're nice. Sharing is caring.
Yes. It was his last day. I was very sad that he was leaving.
Oh.
And I shared one of my French toast sticks with him.
I had one of those the other day. This junior accountant was having his last day and he was moving to a different city. My workplace was his first job out of college. And you could tell because when he was getting ready to go, he started crying. And he was like, I have to pull myself together before I go say bye to the rest of the people. And he's like, you guys have been so great. I'm like, oh my God, you're still hopeful.
Oh,
You're so sweet. Like, you're still innocent about the world.
Oh my gosh.
I think I told him, like, grow up well.
Oh my. That's a good parting gift. Grow up well.
Normally I'll say, like, have a nice life, right? Because
That's sad.
way to go.
Have a
What? They're
nice
going to go
life.
live their life. I know I'm never going to talk to them again.
Yes, true.
I've been through enough of these. I was never truly attached in the first place. I just needed someone to be sarcastic to.
Right.
So that I wouldn't yell at people. So, no, he was great. Like, he was a really good guy. He worked really hard. He was so sweet. Yeah, you just kind of forgot how young and innocent he was until he was leaving.
Oh,
And it got very sentimental there.
that is sad though, especially when there's a new person and you're like, you have so much hope and
Yeah.
encouragement, and you're like, especially if you're at a bad company, you're like, these people are gonna knock you down. Like, it's just so horrible that
Just you wait.
and we think that it's hilarious.
We're over here on the bitter side of life.
Exactly.
And we're like, oh my God, they left the door ajar again. It's going to get all drafty. There's fish in the microwave and they're stirring their coffee. I can't work in these conditions. Like, hashtag first world problems.
Yeah, my coworker, the guy who sits behind us, was stirring his. I guess he made like a iced coffee or whatever.
Which is-
so he's stirring his coffee and it's like clinking the. It was in like a metal glass, so he's like clinking it, and my coworker is like, this barista back here who keeps clinking his stuff. I'm like, oh gosh, guys, we're so grumpy. Why are we so grumpy?
Because we're at work.
So true.
I could be sleeping or watching Netflix or playing with my cat. Those are my three options.
Oh, such a good idea.
But I was at work.
Everybody likes to tell me at work whenever I look tired. I'm not sure why that's a thing.
Right.
That they feel like you can do something about that. Literally,
Thanks,
I get
guys.
that all the time. You look tired today. I'm sorry. Can I go back home and sleep? Is this what you're telling me?
I
'Cause
am
I
tired.
am. Yes, but thanks for pointing that out that I look tired.
Now I am tired and insecure.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
Oh, that's not nice. I had someone tell me I looked sick. I was like, no, I'm just pale. Like,
Oh,
that happens.
that's horrible.
Oh, it happens. When you're this pale, you just kind of get that sometimes.
All right. Do we want to tell a story? I'm so excited because we have listener. What? I don't know what they are.
Our very first story that has been gifted to us
Yes.
by one of our listeners.
Exactly.
And we are so pumped to share it with you. One, because it's great.
Mm-hmm.
Two, because then you'll be like, what? People do that. I can share you my stories too. I can share you.
whatever
I
you
can
want to say.
send you my stories too. And then we'll get more stories. And then it's like a thing.
Yeah, I love it. It feels supportive and awesome. And I feel like people shouldn't feel like their stories aren't good enough, or like if it's too short
Yeah.
or anything like that. Even your little things. If it's like a sentence long about something your boss did, it's fine. We can all relate to that.
You know what? It's like a Christmas tree. The tinsel, real short, but it
I was rooting for that. I was rooting for
I
your
was actually going somewhere, but I
metaphor.
lost it. But you pile enough of it on there and it's really shiny.
Yes. Do you want me to read mine first?
Yes. Tell us the user story.
Okay, so this is submitted by Cal. And he said, I had just arrived at work with a note on my desk saying that my boss wanted to see me.
Uh-oh.
When I went to his office to see what he needed, he collapsed. I ran around frantically for help, screaming for someone to call an ambulance. But before anyone did, he jumped up and said, April Fools.
What?
I was extremely irritated, but mostly relieved that he was all right. And I decided that some payback was in order.
Yes.
It took me a while to come up with a prank that would really get him scared. So my coworkers and I set up a booby trap while he was gone for the day. We created a sort of alarm system that would go off when he walked through the door, and it would then set off a tripwire to release a bag of anchovies to to drop over his head. Oh, God.
This is so elaborate.
How do you think of that? It worked perfectly, but little did we know that he was very allergic to anchovies
Oh my God.
and had to go to the hospital. Oh my God.
Oh my God, this is horrible.
Me and my coworkers were fired as soon as he recovered and back at work. It made me think twice about doing any pranks in the future.
Oh my God.
God, first of all, how do you think of that? How are you like, yes, let's do a bag of anchovies? That's awesome, though. And
How do you design an alarm?
that's what I was thinking, too. I was like, dang, that's intricate that they like set up that whole freaking thing. That's awesome, though.
That shows dedication to your work.
Good grief, yes.
I am so sorry you got fired.
And to your pranks.
That is so elaborate.
That's hilarious.
What a great way to get, like, if you're going to get fired,
that's
that's
that's a
is
good way. That sucks.
great
though.
way to go out. You know, like, in that office, they tell stories about those guys for, like, decades.
Oh, yeah. I'm sure the boss does. I'm sure he's like, these coworkers are these superior. Oh, my God. The employees tried to kill me one time and they got fired. Yeah. It's kind of messed up, though. You get to do a prank on somebody, but then somebody accidentally puts you in the hospital.
Well, right. Was it public knowledge that he was allergic to anchovies?
Don't know.
Anchovies?
Anchovies.
Anchovies. Apparently not, because he said they did not know.
Right.
Oh, that's amazing.
Hilarious. Thank you, Cal, for submitting that.
Cal, you were brave
Seriously.
and committed.
That's some intense pranking.
Committed, Cal.
That's your new name. You're welcome.
Oh my gosh, how bad did his office smell? You
Horrible.
put a bag of anchovies up on the ceiling long enough for them to create this whole prank and long enough to wait for him to walk in.
Right. And enough to put him in the hospital.
Yeah. It's
Right.
not like he probably didn't catch one with his mouth.
Right.
Like,
It just all dropped on him. Yeah.
that is a lot of anchovies to like caress your face as they
Right.
fall to the floor. Enough to give you an anaphylactic reaction.
There's a nice image in my head of anchovies caressing your face. Do you want to read yours?
Okay. So one time, actually, I was a trainer. I was a software trainer for a long time. And it sounds cool, but you're really just hosting webinars, which also sounds cool at first until you realize you just sit in a room and talk to yourself, you know, mic'd up. You're on like a go-to meeting or whatever. I was just sitting there like staring at a blank wall because they just had like a computer in a windowless room and I was sitting in the corner training. And so I called it Magical Training Land because I like to think of myself as a fun trainer. So I'd
you
be
go.
like, everybody, welcome to Magical Training Land.
That is awesome.
Or when the system did something funny, I was like, you know what? Weird things happen in Magical Training Land. And I was such a cheesy trainer, kind of like I'm cheesy in real life. But you have to be. You're talking about systems, right? Like there is
Yes.
nothing exciting about any of it. So you have to be exciting. So one time I was training and I really just had like a whole comedy of errors happen during this class. So we implemented this new purchase order system at work and I was responsible for training it because I'm a software trainer. And there's this feature that lets us order things from websites, but through the system. So like you log on to the system and then you log on to like Home Depot and you buy all of your stuff for your office supply company.
Yeah.
And you put it all in your cart and then it turns into a purchase order and it's really nifty when it
Well, that's cool.
yeah, but it goes through a layer of approval the way that we had it built before it actually submits that order, right? So like the vendor like has no idea you're actually spending money yet. So systems training, got to make it fun. We were dealing with a lot of hypotheticals. Before we got to this point, I had been talking about like, let's order horses for our apartment complex property because then
awesome.
we can do haystack rides. Is that what they're called? Hay rides.
There you go.
Haystack rides. What even is that? Then you can do like hay rides for resident events. And then your maintenance guys, instead of golf carts, they can just ride horses.
There you go.
And it would just be great. So I was just sticking with that theme. So then we logged on to this system so that I could show them how it all works together and opened up our office supply thing. And the first thing I saw on the page was like a discount thing on Jolly Ranchers for the office. And I was like, well, that sounds fun. So I ordered a bunch of Jolly Ranchers, put them in the cart, and I described them as food for ponies just to stick with the theme, right? Like,
Oh, yeah. There you go.
if you're gonna go out and talk about horses on a webinar about apartment complexes, like you gotta stick with it. So training went well, no big deal, everything's fine. A week later, I opened my email and I had an invoice for $1,100 worth of Jolly Ranchers.
Oh my God.
It was real. So at the exact same time that I was hosting this training class, somebody in accounting, you know who you are, was testing things and turned off all of the approvals so that they could see what happened. So when I was playing around and I ordered $1,100 worth of Jolly Ranchers, it actually happened in real life. So I like freak, right?
Yeah.
Because what am I going to do? So by the way, that's 500 pounds of Jolly Ranchers.
I was wondering how many freaking Jolly Ranchers at 500 pounds.
That's a sumo wrestler worth of Jolly Ranchers, okay? So to make it even better, it went to a property that we don't even manage anymore because we were using a like old property in case something like this happened.
Yeah.
But we weren't really planning on this exact thing happening. The office supply company, instead of noticing that it was weird, delivered 500 pounds of Jolly Ranchers to a property that we didn't even own anymore.
My God.
And I called the property, so I'm just reading my email, like trying to figure out what's going on. I get on the phone. The office supply company is like, "Oh yeah, we shipped that," and I was like, "What?" And so I called the property that it went to, and fortunately they answered. Like they didn't have to talk to me. I was with the old management company,
Right?
And they were like, "Oh my God, we kept getting all these boxes in our office." They brought 2 trucks full of boxes.
Oh my gosh.
And she was like, fortunately, it's a company that we don't use. So we rejected it and sent it all back.
Oh, good.
And I was like, thank you so much. Because I was like, I'm going to have to get in my car, drive over there, however many times to get 500 pounds of Jolly Ranchers back. Because I can't afford $1,100 out of my paycheck here. So she didn't know what it was. I asked her if she had opened any of the boxes, and she was like, "No, I don't know what it is." I was like, "Oh, that's so weird." And I decided.
You didn't tell her?
No.
Oh my gosh, I totally would have told her.
I
That's
would not
hilarious.
have told her it was candy, because what if they came back and she's like, "Oh, I'm a
I
little
want
hungry."
some. Yeah, that's true. Very
I don't
true.
know you. I don't trust you.
True.
Okay, so then I called the office supply vendor to be like, "You should stop trying to deliver," because they tried 2 or 3 times now with multiple trucks.
Okay. Yeah.
And so the office supply vendor was super confused because I was trying to explain this. And I'm like, so it accidentally got into your system and it shouldn't have been in your system and it's not for real. And she's going through, and this is when I learned like how truly integrated the 2 systems were. 'Cause she was like, "Are you talking about the like $1,100? It was called Food for Ponies?" And I was like, "Yeah." She's like, "Those are Jolly Ranchers. You know that, right?" I'm like, "Yes."
She's like, please don't feed them to ponies.
She's like, "That's a lot of Jolly Ranchers." I'm like, "Yeah, it sure is." So at the end of the day, like I got it fixed, but everybody in our office and the office supply office in the system, everybody everywhere just got a really big laugh. And then there might have been a bag of Jolly Ranchers on my desk when I came in the next week because they did not let me live that down for so long.
That's hilarious. Oh my gosh. That's a lot of Jolly Ranchers. Who would look at like an order of $1,100 worth of Jolly Ranchers and be like, yes, this is legit. It says food for pony.
They faithfully fulfilled this order.
I mean, that's good, I guess.
They got extra trucks. Like, I highly doubt they had 500 pounds of Jolly Ranchers on hand in that distribution center either. So,
Right.
like, there's a solid chance that they ordered extra Jolly Ranchers just to fulfill my order. Yeah, so every time I was training after that, I was like, so we're going to order this box of ballpoint pens.
Yeah. Yeah, you're like 1 box. That's it.
That was all that ever happened after that. Okay, your turn.
My turn.
What you got? What you got?
So I've had one job where this has been the only job that I've ever had anyone really cuss me out.
It's a fun experience.
Not even a customer though. So I worked for a company where I was their office manager and we shared the building with another company.
Okay.
He rented us out the building.
Okay.
This one section of it. We were in pretty close quarters and he just was a horrible person.
Oh,
Wasn't good.
some questionable morals.
Yes,
And all the things.
Very much so. That's a perfect description. Questionable morals. So he was having a pretty bad day. I had asked him about a few work orders because he did some subcontractor work for us.
Okay.
So it was about 3 weeks. I had been asking him almost every day for a status update on this. So I kind of went around the corner, showed him the work orders. I was a good 5 to 8 feet from him.
Okay.
Showed him these work orders. He didn't really say anything to me except, oh, I already told your boss I took care of it or something like that. Like,
Okay.
just a really like short answer. So I go back around to my office. He comes in like 2 minutes later and he's like, don't you ever effing wave work orders in my face again. You need to realize who you're working with and you need to realize who owns this building and you need to remember your place here.
no.
And just like, and I can't say anything and I'm just in shock.
You're just frozen.
Like, I just froze. And so if I get in an awkward situation, I laugh. So I might have started laughing because I was just like, what? Am I in the Twilight Zone? Like, what is happening? This dude is
so weird.
yelling at me for nothing. So I'm just laughing. Like, I felt really bad, but he wouldn't let me get a word in edgewise. So I'm like, well, what do I do? I mean, he's just sitting here cussing at me and I just for nothing. And like, just the whole like, oh, remember your place here. Like,
my
what are we
God.
in like the 30s? And I'm like your housewife?
Apparently.
No, I don't even work for you or
Oh my
not
gosh.
even related to the company at all in any way, shape or form. Like we don't do anything for you.
You don't write my checks.
Exactly.
Technically,
So-
you work for us because we're paying you to be our
right,
subcontractor.
right.
So,
Oh my gosh. So literally he just like continued to cuss and scream at me and then just like walked out and I was like, what just happened?
oh my god,
I'm a very nice person. Like I would not have like screamed back or anything like that.
No.
And all I said was through his screaming and yelling, that's not what I was trying to do. I was not waving them in your face, nothing like that. Like,
It's stressful.
Those jobs just.
Yeah, I mean, you get really thick skin really
Yeah.
fast. I think once people realize that they can't get a rise out of me and that I'm going to stay calm,
Correct. Yeah.
that's when they eventually calm down. And then we can have an honest conversation about what's happening and what they need.
I often wonder what someone would do if you just like burst into tears and you're like, I don't know why you're cussing at me. Like, it's not my fault. I really wonder what someone would
I've never
do.
done that.
I don't know. Like, what would somebody do if you like flipped out and were like so sad and crying and
Start
offended?
shaking.
Yeah, I know. Like, I really want to know if they'd just be like, oh, I'm so sorry.
Would
Like,
they
what?
even realize?
Ugh.
I'm so curious now.
Do you want to read your story?
Oh, yeah.
I know we got another submission.
Okay, so Katie sent us a story here. And Katie, like, this is great. Thank you, Katie, for this piece of gold here.
Yes.
My first job was working at a local pizza place in my neighborhood. I had my fair share of crazy people order pizza, a couple weirdos whenever I had to deliver. You would think that for such a simple job, it would not be that interesting, but you would be wrong. Ooh. One night when I was working the front counter, it was late at night, and two drunk girls came in stumbling all over each other. Once they had ordered enough pizza for like at least 10 people, they swiped their credit card to pay. I told them that their card was declined, and they started screaming at me, saying their father was the governor and that he was going to close the store down. Not sure what that had to do with the card being declined or how it was the pizza's place fault, but okay. So I just tried to calm him down as best I could, but they kept screaming at me about how they had money and our store was clearly just trying to embarrass them. Then one of the girls marches behind the counter, goes to the back kitchen, and starts to grab ingredients from the fridge and the pantry and makes her own pizza.
Oh my gosh.
The other girl goes back, walks straight to the oven, and starts to grab a whole pizza out of it while it was still cooking. This is such a trip. Luckily, my coworker, who was in the kitchen at the time, grabbed her before she could severely burn herself.
Aw.
I stood there watching in shock for a couple of seconds before I grabbed the phone and called the police. My coworker had to keep restraining the girl that he had stopped, and I tried to calm down the other girl, who was now just crying hysterically. Fortunately, the cops showed up soon, and they were both carted away without any pizza.
Aw.
Thank you guys for sharing your stories. They made me feel not so alone in my job.
Aw.
Katie, you are not alone. You are a
Thank
brave warrior for
you.
handling all of that.
Drunk people are.
Oh my gosh, that is amazing. Who just walks back
Aw.
and starts making their own
That's
pizza.
scary.
Ooh. Oh my God, that story was so crazy. Okay, so that reminds me of my second worst day at work ever. So I was an assistant manager at an apartment community, and it was the 4th of the month, so everybody's rent was late as of that day. So I had to like send everybody all their demands for rent, say, we're going to kick you out if you don't pay. So I listened to the voicemails that morning, and there was a call from like 2 or 3 different people saying that these 2 drunk girls had had another party. And these girls had moved in like a couple of weeks ago, and they'd been nothing but trouble. Like they were partying all day, all night, throwing like empty beer bottles off their patio at people walking their dogs.
Oh my God.
Like they actually hit a dog one time, super loud music. They were just really difficult. And they were the son of a local, nope, they were
There was that?
daughters of a local business owner. So they kind of just thought that they could get away with everything.
Right.
And the voicemail said that these girls and their friends were outside in the middle of the day over the weekend having sex on other people's cars.
Oh my God.
And I was like, what do you do with this? So we call the girls, tell them to come down and meet us. My property manager and they were going to come down in like an hour. So I'm going through the list of like who didn't pay rent. And there's this one guy who's an older guy. He lived alone, didn't have any family, super nice, came in every day and bought a Coke from the vending machine.
Aww.
And every day he would wave at me and I'm like, how you doing? Are you having a good day? And he goes, yep. You? And I was like, yeah, it's a great day. And he's like, cool. And he stands there for a second. And he just walks away.
Aww.
And he was just, it was just really sweet. Like, that's just what we did every day.
Right.
And so he didn't pay rent. And I was like, something's wrong. Like, I just knew like something was terribly wrong for this guy. But didn't have a lot of time to worry about it. Kept working on my notices. And the 2 drunk girls walked in and they came in like, chewing gum, super flippant. Like, you can't tell me what to do. I don't care. I don't have to be here. I don't have to listen to this. And my manager, like, started yelling, like, put the fear of God into them, leaning over the desk, all this. And they walked out like, yes, ma'am, no, ma'am, absolutely, ma'am. I understand, ma'am. It won't happen again. They were so scared that when they were walking back to their apartment, they ran into the neighbor that, like, shared the stairway with them. And they were like, I'm so sorry. I promise it wasn't us having, like, sex outside. It was our friends. Here, look at the video on our phone.
Oh,
she sends her neighbor
my gosh.
a video of her friends having sex outside in the middle of the day. And this neighbor was not the one who complained. She didn't even know what was going on. She had had surgery and was like super out of it on painkillers for a couple of days. So she gets this video, looks at it, and it's her car that they had been like having sex on outside in the middle of the day.
In the daytime?
So I'm sitting there finishing up my notices, worried about this guy. Get a call from this lady that it was her car that they were having sex on. And she was like, I don't even know how to tell you this. It's really weird, but I feel like you should know. And I was like, I just had a really weird conversation with my neighbor who I've never talked to before. What do you say to that? What do you say to that?
I don't know.
So I was like, is there any damage to your car? Like, can we get the police involved? Like, I'm just ready for these girls to not live there anymore. So while I'm waiting for her to check on her car, we started giving notices out to everybody who hadn't paid rent. I get called, cussed out, normal, whole nine. It's just what happens. We went over to the guy's apartment who didn't pay, that elderly gentleman. My maintenance guys were tall enough to look in the garage, and his car was still there. And we're like, that's weird. Went up to the door, knocked, tried to call the police to do a safety check. They go, we don't do that anymore. And I was like, great.
Oh my gosh.
So we used the key to go in because we knew something was really wrong. Like, knocked, announced ourselves, legal whole thing, and found him passed away in his chair watching TV. And he had clearly been there for a while. So we went back to the office, called 911. They were trying to talk us into resuscitating him. And we're like, nope, this guy's really, really dead. He's gone. And they're like, but have you tried resuscitation? Like, it's going to be our fault or something. And we're like, no.
Dude, he's going to come back a zombie if you resuscitate.
No.
So, no, not doing that.
That ship has sailed. And so I'm getting all emotional now because it's sad. Anyway,
Right.
there's no good way to handle that.
Right.
So meanwhile, we talked to the lawyer, heard back from the lawyer. We're going to give the girls a demand for compliance where basically you just have to stop breaking every single part of the lease that there is,
Right.
or we're going to kick you out. Because we were serving a legal demand at that point, we had to call the guarantor on the apartment, who happened to be their father. And we had to explain this whole situation about these party girls having sex outside on other people's cars with their friends to the father. And so my manager fortunately did all the talking. Like, I was just a basket case by then. And my manager was like, so, here's the situation. And the dad literally goes, not again. Oh my God. Is this real life?
Goodness.
He was like, I thought they would be better off at that place, but I guess not. Well, okay, do what you gotta do. And hung up.
Oh my gosh, no. What the heck?
So the ambulance came, and then they called the coroner because they finally confirmed that he was dead. And then we ended up serving the girls the notice for eviction.
And this is all in one day.
This is one day.
Oh my gosh, how did you? Oh no,
I still got all my late fees posted, still got all my demands for rent out, still got cussed out by 9 other people because, people just get upset. And I was used to that. But on top of all that other stuff that day, it was rough.
Oh my gosh, I do not know how you survived that.
Xanax.
Great way.
It was pretty shortly after that. I think that my doctor decided I needed an anti-anxiety medicine on top of the antidepressant.
Oh, well, yeah, that'll do it for you when people are dying and you're having to evict people. Oh my god.
Can't imagine why.
Oh,
That was
scary.
my second worst day in property management.
Dear Lord. Okay, well, on that on that death note, should we read something from the encouragement pouch?
I think so. I think it's time to turn this podcast around with some encouragement from the lovely Instagrammer, the latest Kate, who writes encouraging things.
Every week we have a little pouch that has a bunch of encouraging sayings in it.
Sounds like this.
That is it. And we will be reading from those because we want to leave the podcast off on an encouraging note because a lot of our stories are a little bit depressing sometimes, little bit.
It happens.
So we just want to make sure that we leave it off on a better note.
So today's encouragement pouch quote, "Hey, it's rough out there. How did you know?" Hey, it's rough out there. It's time to go a bit easier on yourself.
Oh, I love that.
It's a good reminder because you know what? We are hard on ourselves.
Tell me about
and if
it.
the rest of the world is going to be this hard on us, we at least should give ourselves a break.
Dude, no one is harder on me than myself.
But we're working on it.
Yes. So what did we learn?
We learned don't go to pizza places if you're drunk.
Yeah. Don't have sex outside on other people's cars.
Double check what your boss is allergic to before you pull a prank on him.
Yep. And don't order 500 pounds of Jolly Ranchers.
My bad.
All right. Well, thanks for listening. We appreciate it.
If you guys want to be our third and fourth listener submissions, go to whatthemonday.com where you can give us your own story and we can read it here.
And follow us on Facebook and Instagram at What the Monday Podcast.
Or on Twitter at Podcast Monday.
Yeah.
We would love to hear more of your stories.
Yes.
And it's super fun.
It is.
Seeing that participation.
Yay.
It just gives me a little spark of joy in my heart.
Oh, it's so cool.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks.
Okay, bye.
Bye.
Well, What the Monday podcast basis is in humor and comedy. Names used are not actual. Content is merely an interpretation, and any relationship to an actual event is entirely coincidental.